everybody. I am here with Willem Rosenthal, who is a senior front-end developer at VEG ER. Willem, thank you so much for being here, man.
Thanks for having me.
So good to meet you. You are a Codesmith alumni.
I am.
Before you went to Codesmith, you were a video game developer, is that right?
Yeah, I was like a solo game dev for a decade-ish.
Wow, and so according to your LinkedIn, you've been coding since you had your first Tamagotchi at 10 years old.
Yeah.
Cool flex.
Making like websites and the oldest version of HTML and a little JavaScript
Very
and
cool.
stuff like that, yeah.
So you've really seen code change quite a bit throughout your life.
Yeah, and I picked up some bad habits for CSS from those long ago years. Yeah.
Well, so you had so much experience, what gaps were you hoping to fill by going through Codesmith?
A long time is experience, and that gave me like acumen for how the basic fundamentals, like I came in knowing what a variable was and like a lot of those basic things, but like game dev is really different from web dev. And the web dev that I was doing as a young teenager was so wildly out of date that it's, it doesn't really apply. So, and then I also didn't work in JavaScript primarily, and JavaScript is one of the most like unique ins and outs language I've seen. So it was huge for me, honestly. Like I could not have gone and gotten in like a job in the industry.
Wow.
At least maybe not, like maybe in the games industry. But again, also I was totally self-taught. So I had huge gaps in my knowledge, and I didn't know what those huge gaps were.
Right.
Because I like had no way of measuring that. But,
wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So how did you find Codesmith, and like what made you decide
My best
to go?
friend went through it.
Really?
Yeah.
My best friend went through Codesmith with me too. Shout out to Sam. That's awesome. So he went through and then he told you about it?
Before, yeah.
Cool. What did preparing for Codesmith look like for you? It's very hard to get in. So what did your studying look like? Where did you start?
I mean, I started with the CS Prep. Is that what it was? The online one.
CSX?
That's
that
right.
right?
I actually didn't do CS Prep. I did CSX.
CSX.
Yeah.
So CSX is a great place to figure out where to start, because that's kind of like you were just saying, you didn't really know what you didn't know.
It was awesome. I think I was really lucky in that I had all that experience. That like that and then working with people was enough for me. But I had the fundamentals down of like working through a coding problem, even if it wasn't web dev style coding problems.
You knew what a server is. You knew what oh, really?
Well, I knew what it was, but I've never like touched one.
Okay, yeah. I didn't even know what a server was. I was like, what is the difference between a server and an API and a database? I have no idea.
One of them's a cylinder and one of them's a square.
Well said. A true engineer. So, what would you say, as somebody who's been working with tech for a long time, what was the greatest takeaway, technically speaking, from Codesmith?
I mean, I'm a front-end dev, and so I primarily work in React, and React is a very specific knowledge set. Like all the C# knowledge in the world or Python knowledge in the world like isn't going to teach you how to use React. So I think working with that was really helpful in seeing how that interacted. But the experience as a whole sort of really set me up, I guess, to be able to soak up those things too.
A while ago we were just talking and you were saying that at your last job you were doing a lot of back-end stuff, and though you're a front-end guy, you were still able to do that. And so did that, your experience at Codesmith, did it sort of inform the work you were doing in the back end?
Yeah, I mean, there's no way I would have been able to do that work. Like I'm really good at the front end, and that's where I thrive, and I think it's really helpful to try and figure that out when you're at Codesmith. And I sort of knew it, but I can get through anything. It taught me how to like look stuff up when I don't know it.
Right.
It taught me how to deal with stuff that's not my forte. Like I'm wildly dyslexic, so reading documentation that's a no bueno thing for me. Yeah,
wow.
so like that's the reason why back end stuff which tends to be a little bit more prescriptive and like you need to know all these different texts and you need to read the docs. Like that's not my strong point. But
and yet you were still able to
100%.
work in the field doing that.
100%.
That's amazing. What would you say was your greatest non-technical takeaway?
I mean, just the people.
Yeah.
Like I think I got lucky. My class was really incredible, and I just made like so many friends. And also I was on, maybe the older end of the spectrum of the people there, and so it was really nice for me just to be in like a learning environment again with other people. Like it'd been years and years since college.
Yeah.
And just getting to experience like working with people, seeing how different people learn, and which I feel like every different learning style, because you pair up with everyone, kind of helps you to understand how to work with other people, which is a big part of, my previous work. Even though I was coding, it was solo dev work. So like working with other people wasn't like a muscle I'd worked out at all.
Right.
And that was huge for me.
Yeah, you're gonna work with people at Codesmith whether you want to or not. You're gonna learn how to do it.
And it was just super fun.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And you met your fiance there.
And I met my fiance, my future wife, which is not something I could guarantee that everyone gets to do.
Right.
It changed. Codesmith changed my life like immeasurably.
In many ways.
But yeah, I don't want to claim that's
right. We can't sell that.
Good luck.
I mean, if it happens, great, but no promises. So you go through Codesmith. It's incredibly rigorous. You finally graduate. What did life after Codesmith look like?
Job applications.
And job hunting?
Yeah.
Were you still building as you were doing all of this in your initial search, or were you just really focusing on reinforcing what you learned in the program, sending out applications? Like, how did you split your time with that?
I mean, I'm the kind of person who can't not be making things. So
yeah. I mean, he has since he got his first Tamagotchi at age 10. Is that how you ended up at VEG ER? You just threw applications on LinkedIn and stuff? And
yeah, I don't remember. I was like hitting all of it. It was like LinkedIn and Auto, and I think maybe it's not called On anymore, but just any site that had those sort of things. I was filtering. What was great for the second job is I knew exactly what I wanted, because the first job I was really excited to take, but it was my first one in the interview or in the industry, and I didn't know what to look for in culture, what to look for in teammates, what to look for in responsibilities that I wanted. And then the second time I was like, I know I want to be front end. I know I want like this kind of attitude for my managers. I sort of had a list of here's what I want, and then just anything that fit that description, because those are the things I know I need to be happy in my job, then I would apply to.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So VEG ER is it's a network of veterinary hospitals for pets, including like exotic pets, dogs, cats.
Yeah,
snakes.
ER only. So
ER only.
Like emergency rooms.
Okay, so what do you do for them? Like, what is your day-to-day look like?
So I build the software that the doctors use internally.
Okay.
So like, when you go to the doctor's office and they like pull up your chart and you say, all my skin's falling off, what do I do? And they like type in the symptoms. Like,
I always say that at the doctor.
Yeah, that's, every day. So that's like, I build all the software. So we have, I think it's pretty rare to have totally bespoke software for that, but VEG is a pretty bespoke, like there's not a lot of ER only vets out there.
Right.
So yeah, we have our own team internally that does that.
What does a day-to-day as a senior front-end developer look like?
So like including extracurricular.
Yeah, I would lay it all on me, Scat Cat.
Yeah,
I want to know it all.
It depends on the season. I like to get up early, so I've been getting up around 5 a.m. most days.
You're so much better than me.
In the winter, that doesn't happen.
Okay.
I did get one of those lights that like turns on.
Oh yeah.
That helps a lot, but it's still like 6:30 is my best in the winter. Anyways, I get up around 5, and then I make coffee and either play video games for an hour or two.
Wow, okay.
Or I work if I feel like I didn't get enough stuff done the previous day. I mean, it's really cool having that time because, especially as you start entering senior, your uninterrupted work time, because you tend to have meetings throughout the day, becomes more and more valuable. It's really hard if you have like a meeting now and then 45 minutes. 45 minutes of free time is almost useless.
Right.
So having that big chunk of time is really great, because then if you get like 2 or 3 hours of work done before work, for me, I mean, if you work from home, I work from home. So that makes it better. Easier to do this. But in my case, that means that if I have a chunk of time, instead of stressing about trying to do something, I can make a sandwich or take a walk or something.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess that's why I'm so blown away that you get up so early, because my problem is I always go, well, it doesn't matter. I can just work until 8 tonight, so I'll just sleep in.
I'm a morning person, so
yeah, cool.
I also need, I think, less sleep than the average person.
Oh, you just built different. Would you say that your previous design experience has impacted what you do today in any way? Your experience building video games?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, I come from a visual arts background. I actually went to college for illustration.
Oh, okay.
So,
all right, that helps.
Yeah, so I have a visual eye, and on the front end, that can be really helpful.
Okay.
I can see if things are misaligned by a pixel and things like that, and I'll rank stuff up.
That real like acute attention to detail.
Yeah, and I also have, because of making games, I have a good like UX sense, and so I'll tend to find problems before they happen in designs and be able to bring them up to designers. Yeah. So
you work mostly on the front end. You have had to work on the back end with certain jobs. That's quite a range. What is a small tool or habit that you like to use that you think makes you a strong engineer?
I would like to say that I have like a great system for that, but typically what happens when I get stuck is I do a few intelligent solutions, and then after an hour or two, I start hacking, slashing, and doing crazy baloney. Okay, just throwing it at the wall. And then it's way too late, and I'm doing like, I've been up for like 6 hours trying to work on this thing, and I'm delirious and doing like crazy stuff that I know, even consciously, I'm gonna have to just undo in the morning. Yeah. And then eventually it'll be so late that I have to go to sleep, and then I'll wake up and just instantly know how to solve it.
Isn't that amazing though?
Yeah.
It's amazing how stepping away from something for a few hours all of a sudden you come back and it makes sense.
It really helps. Yeah, if I could, it would be huge if I could learn to do that before the bottom 5 hours portion of it. But I suspect I would get the same benefits, but I've been unsuccessful.
You just want to get it done. You just want to get it figured out. But
well, I keep thinking of like, oh, well, like, what if I just did this other, and the ideas will get crazy.
Right. And then you go and you sleep and you come back and all of a sudden it makes sense. So do you still get coding nightmares? Like when I was in Codesmith, I would get coding nightmares all the time. Do you still get those, or is that kind of
no? I definitely had coding dreams when I was Codesmith, but Codesmith is a very intense thing. I don't spend a majority of my day coding. You know, I spend about a reasonable spread for job work-life balance these days. So.
What was stepping into your first role, like your first day of work in the industry as a software engineer? What was that like? How did you feel?
I mean, it was scary.
Yeah.
And you know, now I've done it twice at 2 different jobs, and sort of what I've come to learn is that no matter how good you are, you're going to feel like an idiot for like a certain portion of time. And so I actually am pretty good about giving myself a break. So the first day is not so bad. What's bad is for me was like 2 months in when I still feel dumb.
Okay.
Because then you're thinking like, oh, I should really know this by now. But it doesn't really happen until like 3 or 4 or 5 even.
Do you still get that that imposter syndrome now, and like how do you deal with it now?
Well, I've been at this role for about a year now, so I'm feeling pretty comfortable.
Okay.
But even then, I still deal with some stuff. Like someone will mention some piece of tech I don't know, and there'll be like a struggle in my head of like, do I say I don't know it, or do I like pretend like I know what it is and Google it furiously?
Oh, good, you too.
So that still happens, but at least in terms of like my own code base, I'm feeling confident.
Okay, cool.
But this is also, you know, I'm working in React, I'm working in TypeScript. Like these are things I know.
Sort of like your home. Like it's where you're the most comfortable.
Yeah, we do have Redux though.
That's a lot. We work with Redux and Codesmith. How did you feel the first time you saw Redux?
I hated it first, and then I weirdly got good at it by the end of Codesmith.
Really?
And then I forgot all of it as soon as I stopped.
Yeah, it's amazing. I actually went through and redid that unit at one point, and it was as if I had never seen it again. Yeah, which is wildly frustrating.
It's really complicated, and there's way better things out there now. I've been using signals with some of my recent personal projects, and they're really cool. I don't know if you've worked with them.
That was one of those moments where I thought, do I ask what it is, or do I just act like I know what it is?
It's new. It has like no boilerplate at all, which is really cool.
Okay. Which Redux is like
it's all boilerplate.
Yeah. I gotta ask this in every interview. AI, are you using it? If so, how? And how is it? For sure. All right. I feel like that's going to kind of always be the response. How are you using it, and how is it impacting you and your team?
I don't know how my team uses it. I feel like there's still like a little bit of hesitation. So some people are very upfront about using it. It's also hard because you have to convince your company to like let you use, you know, so they'll be like, oh, you can use Copilot, but you can't use ChatGPT, or you can't use Cursor, which is what I use for my personal projects and really love.
Okay.
For those who don't know, Cursor is like an IDE, like Visual
like
Studio.
VS Code,
it's
right?
literally VS Code, but with AI built in.
Yeah.
They built it to be identical, so you can just go to it.
Okay.
It's awesome. It's great. Yeah. Well, it has the context of your whole code base, so you can just say like, how do I do this? And you can look at all your files.
That's the thing with Copilot. It doesn't really have. It's kind of harder to ask. You can ask it questions, but it does. Yeah.
It can know about what's there, but it's super great for. So something like Cursor is great for kind of repetitive tasks. So like. If you're changing imports or something like that, or renaming stuff, you'll do it in one file, and then when you go to the next file, it'll sort of be like, like I bet he's going to keep trying to do this, and it'll like suggest them, and you just hit tab, and it'll do it for you. It's great for like smaller problems, but if you try and do something and it gives you a bad answer, which AI does frequently, like as soon as it gets to a certain level of complexity, the chances of it not being able to handle it skyrocket. AI has a tendency, in my experience, to like double and triple down on its dumbness. I always notice when I've relied on it too much, because if I start trying to build something and it's giving me an answer that doesn't work, and it's just because I'm being lazy and I didn't want to like figure out this algorithm or something, it'll like, you know, realize I've spent an hour trying all the things it suggests without like thinking about what they do. And it's just getting worse and worse and worse and more verbose. And then I'll just I'll screw it and just write it myself.
What advice would you give somebody trying to learn how to code in this environment with ChatGPT, AI so readily available?
I feel very confident using it because I've been coding for like a decade and a half, even discounting the childhood coding that I did.
Always gotta bring that up again. Been coding since I was 10.
But like I'm really confident in those like base abilities, which means that I don't have to worry. I don't feel like I have to worry so much for asking if there's an algorithm I just don't feel like dealing with.
Yeah.
I can have it.
Like, I could do it if I needed
and I can
to.
also check it. Yeah, but I think the fresher you are to it, you really have to force yourself to do those things, because you're sort of just cheating yourself. Like I said, it messes up, and it messes up consistently, and it's going to be ages before it's able to not do that. And the bigger thing is it can't really think creatively. So all it can do is sort of give you versions of stuff it's seen before, and sometimes it's looking at things that are bad also. Or it has just the wrong idea. AI literally hallucinates. If you're working with models, there's like a factor for how much it's hallucinating you can control.
Right.
There's no way to stop that.
Yeah. Setting the temperature is not a bug, it's a
feature.
Feature. Thank you. Gosh.
Yeah. But if you can't fact check it, then you shouldn't be using it. Essentially.
Yeah.
But it's great for like boring tasks. You got to change a million things. Like in our code base, we want to pull out there's a lot of hard-coded CSS stuff that should be variables.
Okay.
So you can say like, hey, find all of the hard-coded colors. Give me a list of those and what files they're in. Stuff like that, something that would take forever as a human, but isn't an intelligent task. Awesome for that. Even when I ask it to do like a bigger task for me, every single time it gives me a result, I'll read through it, and then I'll, even sometimes I'll fix it myself, or I'll write back to it and say like, hey, like I think you probably should be using memoization here, like these places. And I was like, you're right. I should have. Like, cool.
And then it apologizes, which is kind of weird.
You need to be able to do that.
Yeah. Well, Willem, it has just been awesome talking to you.
You too,
Thank you for taking your time to chat with us about Codesmith and what you do, and we'll see you around.
Cool.